right, I'll go ahead and call the December 4th, 2012 Lancaster Neighborhood Vitalization Commission meeting to order. If we can start with a roll call, please.
Certainly. Commissioner Concepcion Harris.
Present.
Commissioner Howard Harris.
Present.
Commissioner Hearns. Commissioner Kiefer.
Present.
Commissioner Lawson. Vice Chair Moulton.
Here.
Chairman Derryberry.
I'm here as well.
We have a quorum.
It looks like our agendized pastor is not here today, so if it would be okay, I'd like to invite Concepcion Harris to do her invocation, if that's okay.
I'd be happy to. Lord, I just thank you for the work that is being done here in the city of Lancaster, and we just ask for your blessing this afternoon on the Lancaster Vitalization Commission, and just ask, Lord, that your will would be done, that you would give us the wisdom that we need to, with the proceedings, whatever it is that they may be, and we ask this in your Son's name. Amen.
And if everyone can remain standing, place their hand over your heart and repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Linda, do we have any public business from the floor today?
No, sir.
Okay, then we have our single item on the consent calendar, which is to approve our meeting minutes from the November 6th meeting. If everyone's had an opportunity to review those, any changes, please bring them, and I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor? Go ahead and I guess we can hit the button since they're flashing. And I think we are surprisingly okay. So we have also our sole presentation of the day. I'd like to invite Lee DeRico up to give us the presentation on how our El Dorado neighborhood efforts are, how they're doing. I've had a ton of coffee today, Lee, so...
All right, well, let's get on with it. We're going to get excited about El Dorado.
No, I'm just really kind of excited in general. So.
Okay, good. All right, well, first, though, I'd like to introduce a couple people from the public safety staff. This is Marlene Navarro. Marlene actually handles all our restitution recovery on graffiti cases as well as parking for the city. She's a pretty active part of our office. But then we have two new members here that I actually stole from another department within the city, and they're former code enforcement officers that now are public safety specialists out of our office, Scott O'Connor, Anthony Perez. These guys have been with me now just couple days over 2 months, and they've already cleared over 60 cases that we've had in the books for some time. So they're going out, but we're back in our community mindset as we preach here in this commission, especially. We want to work cooperatively with our folks throughout the city. We're not out there to be punitive. We want just compliance. So these guys have been super active. They've also conducted 2 jaywalking operations where Scott's a reserve deputy sheriff as well for our local station. They've gone out and dealing. We've had a lot of pedestrian vehicle accidents this year with some fatalities, so we're really trying to address that. And also, they've been doing daily panhandling operations in our shopping centers. Okay, we have a contingent of folks that are homeless that participate in panhandling, but we have a significant number of folks that are drug addicts. So we've been trying to identify those folks and try and get them a different direction. Okay, especially now with Prop 36 in the courts, it's more of a social issue more than a punitive issue, so we're trying to get people directed at the right appropriate place to deal with those issues. Great. So they've been very active. But what I want to talk about today is I'm just going to go over some statistical information. Jim Cobalt, who's our crime analyst, we're tracking things that we've done in the area. We need to remember the El Dorado neighborhood we targeted because we felt it was the number one priority for a significant need, especially as it's adjacent to Antelope Valley High School and the junior high and everything in the area, so in El Dorado schools. So we focused on that just because of some long-term historical problems that we're having in the neighborhood. So I'm going to use some comparisons from prior to our activity there and then what took place after, and then we can look at that as how it compares to other reporting districts in the area. So what you'll see here is El Dorado neighborhood actually is within its own reporting district within the city. Reporting districts are used for statistical information for crime statistic gathering. So the city of Lancaster has numerous reporting districts. Usually they're surrounded by major streets. This one happens to be 1132, and this is how through statistical gathering. So when if you ever see a police report, you'll see the first number is a retention code, the first 3 digits. That's how long, depending on the crime, whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor, how long the retention is, a stolen vehicle. So anywhere from 0 retention means forever, like a homicide case, versus a 9 if for some grand thefts, things like that. The next 5 numbers you see are the sequential numbers. That's the number of reports that have been taken so far in that calendar year, okay, which is shocking if you ever saw it. Okay, it's amazing. It is a 5-digit number usually by the end of the year. The next 4 numbers are the reporting district. The last 3 are the statistical code based on the type of crime. Okay, so we pull our data and information from all those numbers within that to come up with what we report out. Now this is what I did is I took the same period that we started tracking our stats based on the things that we were doing from the first year through March. Okay, as we initiated our Neighborhood Vitalization Commission, our Unite projects and things, we kicked that off in April. Okay, and so what I'm doing is I'm going to compare from the year prior, which, by the way, 2011 was a market year, not just in Lancaster, but countywide for a reduction in crime. Our city saw, like a 40% decrease over 5 years. That was at its high point last year. Earlier this year, what I think is significant as you look at these stats is we had a rise for the first 2 quarters of this year that were pretty substantial. And even in spite of that, you're going to see statistically the effect we had even in this neighborhood. So these are population estimates, and then as you'll see looking through it, it'll have the number of Part 1 crimes that occurred in that neighborhood, in that RD 1132. The next number is based on population, and then what you'll see is a number as it relates to crimes, Part 1 crimes per 10,000. So we always look at 300 cities are considered safe. Anywhere they hover around that 300 number, 300 Part 1 crimes per 10,000. And you can see even before we started, that area was lower than that number. So that's based on what our efforts have been for several years. And then this will be, you can see by this, and I can email this to you. This is available through our public safety website too for you. But you'll see that it has it broken down by crime classification over on the right and the frequency of those crimes in the area for that period. So this was for the same period, April 1st through October 31st of 2011. Then we'll move as we went into 2012. You can see we substantially reduced the Part 1 crimes initially for that same period of time. The population actually went up, but look at our rate. Our rate went down nearly almost 100 points. Okay, so that shows you that even we can statistically prove, based on the things that we did in that reporting district, had a significant cause and effect, even in a period of time where our city has seen an increase overall in the crime rate. So that's good. This almost scares me. I actually know how to work this right now. Linda had to teach me this before. Okay, but as you can see, on a frequency of crimes, I think some of the most significant ones, look at burglary. If you go back to the other one, 19 in that period, and that's in that rather small reporting district, down to 8. Okay, and that could be vehicle burglaries. It could be all kinds of things. So that's usually what we're facing mostly in our residential areas. So that's, it's a good thing to look at. Now, as we study crime trends weekly. So here, what we do here at the City of Lancaster, we compile stats weekly. We almost do it day to day, depending on what trends we're seeing. We collaborate. Jim puts these things together. We meet with the Sheriff's Department. The captain gets a copy of this weekly, and then we target our resources every week to deal with those trends. The idea being is we have a predictive model that's based on 10 years of crime stat gathering in our city. And then what we do is we actually try and beat our prediction. So we will predict a number based on that, on what the maximum, what is our baseline for numbers of crimes, and then what we do in that specific area is try and reduce that. So what you can see here is that first line is our baseline. And those are the weeks that we had those crimes occur within those reporting districts. That baseline is set for our city for 10 years of cumulative crime statistics as it relates to that reporting district. Okay, is everyone following me there? So that's our baseline. Our expectation weekly is that we will have 6 in this period of time, 6 robberies within that reporting district. Remember, this reporting district is inclusive of the apartments there on Division and Lancaster Boulevard, and the shopping center and gas station that's down there on Division and Avenue J. So those are included in these statistics. But you can see our baseline for prior 10 years of history was 6, and you can see here we had 1 per those weeks, and only those weeks that are identified there. So it shows you, we're having definite effect by putting the resources that we are in that area. So we had 3 robberies in that time period.
Which is pretty substantial, because the way I understand the gas station on J and Division, you could practically camp a sheriff there because of the amount of activity.
Very active, and then, it'll be interesting when you look at the adjacent reporting districts where we haven't done the work that we've done here yet. You'll see the difference in the number of frequency. Okay, assaults, same thing. That's our baseline at the top. Through that same time period, it should be around 16. We varied in there 2 to 3 for those weeks. So you can see, even though you can follow that frequency trend along with that linear trend for whether to see if we're trending up or not, we're not anywhere near our baseline where we were prior. And burglary, as I said before, is really significant. Something we've done here in Lancaster as we started developing these task force teams that have special assignment teams for robbery, apprehension, burglary, our top team, target-oriented policing, our course team for community-based model, and LANCAP, which everyone knows more, for dealing with our multiple rental housing programs. The burglary team here, honestly, from working I was a burglary detective and worked different stations, is amazing how it does comparably to other areas. Our station is unbelievable for solvency rate and our reduction in burglaries. It's probably down 70-80% over the last few years. So we still have a lot. We should have 0. That would be nice. I mean, the likelihood is not very likely of that, but we do pretty good. Okay, larcenies is more probably related to that gas station and things like that. We'll have any kind of thefts. A big problem that we've had, and I'll show you at the end of this, that we've really been pushing for the neighbors over there. It seemed that we were having a lot of thefts out of unlocked vehicles or open garages, those type of things. It's like, things that really are preventable. Okay, so as we look at that, and especially as it relates to larcenies and thefts, that's the most common things we see. So you'll see where I'll talk about some of the things we've done with Neighborhood Watch and things in the area. GTAs is a low-frequency crime. You can see barely 1. Okay, now we get into the other reporting districts. 1133 is when we talk about the neighborhood just south, okay? And that would be from 10th Street East, which is Challenger, to Division Street, from J to K. Now you can see we have a population density there because we have more multiple family housing in there. But even then, if you look at the comparison for Part 1 crimes, they have a large number in that same period of time of 129. So compared to we were down around 40. Okay, so we have a presence there. Because of the population numbers, it pushes their crime rate per 10,000 down, but that's a significant difference in population. We went from 2,400 people to 6,800 in another RD. And then you can see, but if you look at their crime frequency, look at burglary. That's one that stands out. A robbery, strong arm robbery. That's, someone approaching someone and beating them up to steal something from them. It's not really typically like you'd have in a store or a commercial center. Also in that reporting district, that's inclusive of like our business complex and everything else in there that's not open at night and things. So there's some serious population density there. So you can see number-wise, we're doing pretty good. Burglaries 39 compared to we were at 8 in the same period of time. This is 1135. This is as you go northeast of El Dorado. You can see it's a lot more population there, but they have 303 Part 1 crimes for density. And then you can see again, look at the numbers like burglaries are astronomical. Okay, so those things we really want to maintain a presence, and when we go into these neighborhoods, so we want to be preventative. And then this is off Challenger and 1137. These right now, believe it or not, these reporting districts are some of our highest right now in the city that we're currently addressing right now from a criminal apprehension and impact basis. But again, you can see 261 Part 1 crimes is significant. And again, those numbers are up there. So as far as looking at what we're doing in El Dorado, okay, you know, and comparatively our numbers, it's a relatively small reporting district, but we made a significant impact as it relates to that, okay? And so we even were able to bring down, with a low number of population and mostly single-family homes that reside in the area, make a significant change in that number. So that's the enforcement side, right? So we talk about this in our community-based model, that we work in kind of a weed and seed mindset, right? We're going to target an area, we identify what the problems are, we send law enforcement in to use their tactics and all the resources that are available to identify who the criminals are and the people that are creating that lower standard of quality of life, and we remove them from there. Then our next job is what we did go into. We go into a survey mode, and as Patty had reported earlier, that survey, we got a response from 300 folks that lived in the area, okay, with identifying. We did the meeting we did in the neighborhood over at the school, okay, with the town hall meeting, which I thought was really good. We got some good information, but what was interesting to see from the transition of what the concerns were out of the survey and the initial contact in the neighborhood compared to what came up in the town hall were night and day. We were talking about neighborhood kid nuisance issues at the town hall seemed to be the focus of it, where before it was people concerned about even coming out in the evening hours and things in their neighborhood. So what we talk about in there is, and Amy's not here today, I would have had her come and we could talk about more about how we've solicited some of the neighborhood watch groups there. But these are some of the things that we talk about in preventive crime prevention with neighborhood watch groups. Like if you look in this triangle, the crime triangle, what part of this do you control? You can't control the suspect's behavior, right? You can't control where they're going to strike, but you as a victim can do certain things to control, to prevent yourself from being a victim. And so then we talk about those things. And what we really look at, as I said, we talk about larcenies. As we look in a specific area, it's like, what are we going to bring to those groups and people that reside in that area that's the most significant impact to them from a crime standpoint. So as you can see, secure your property, close your garage doors. It's amazing when you drive through a neighborhood. Just do it sometime as you're in the course of everyone's very busy. You're going through the course of your day and drive through a neighborhood and see how many times no one's out front but the garage door is open. Okay, with everything to see what they have in their garage. Okay? Lock your house. A lot of folks leave. My dad still does it. It makes me crazy. I'll go by my dad's house, the door's unlocked. His keys are sitting on the floorboard of his car. He thinks it's Lancaster from 1970, okay? It's not that way. You know, don't, you're going to make yourself a victim. He's been lucky. It hasn't happened to him, but, you know, you're just creating an atmosphere for that. Other things that we talk about, we really talk about this a lot with shopping centers. We were having a significant impact, and something we're working on right now, especially through the holiday season, is we do not want, don't make yourself a victim in the shopping centers. You know, we step up this holiday patrol and all these things that we do from a resource standpoint, but it's only as good as the cooperation we have from the public, too, to protect themselves out there. So, you know, you don't want to have expensive items accessible in your vehicle. You don't want them in view. I mean, we've had people, their cars are broken into, they think it was locked, but we don't have any forced entry, and then their laptop or something was stolen out of it, or an iPhone, or those type of things. Those are things that are easily taken and pawned, okay, or sold to, you know, or trade for narcotics, so those type of things. So we really want to work on that. And then, so this is just more of what things we do to tell people to make them better and harden the target where they don't become victims. Okay, and so it's the thing is these are things we talk about, and one of the things that's most important here is if you go to our public safety website, we have all kinds of information. We have access to crime mapping. We have instructions on how you can access crime mapping from your home, and you can see what's going on in your area, and it's real-time information as it's entered into the LARSA system at the station, and we enter it here. We have actually an intern that does nothing but do crime analyst data entry every day. I don't know how she does it either, but it's crazy, but it's a lot of data, and we look at every kind of we analyze every kind of information that we can glean from booking slips and police reports and just calls for service, because that tells you a lot of what's going on. You might have a situation where you're just running crime reports in a certain area, but that's not really indicative of what's truly happened in that neighborhood, because you're not going to see a crime report for a neighborhood dispute. No one takes a police report for that. It's not a crime. Okay, but you can have ongoing quality of life issues that we need to look at. So we bring that into it. Okay. On that, I think it's as important, especially for your commission and for us as city staff to work with your commission, is that we maintain that philosophy of that community policing model. Okay, that we identify problems, we work collectively as a group, we bring and identify all the resources that are available to us to deal with that issue, bring people together and talk about resolution to it. The truth is, you're never going to rush your way out of a problem. Okay, that's been proven time and time and time again. We need to work as a group to look at those things, the causation of some of these issues, and how do we work together to eliminate those causation issues, okay, whether that be outreach, whether that be training. We also run a community youth court, and I would love to invite you to come participate in that, where we have actual criminal cases that are diverted from the sheriff's station over to a kid that's maybe a first-time offender. It's more of a restorative justice model. We want to get their attention the first time they do something. We bring their parents into it. We work collaboratively with them for what the restitution mindset is, how they're going to repay their debt to whoever the victim is, what's the parent's responsibility and role in raising that child and what is expected from the community, and then how we're going to manage all that together. And so that's going to be growing significantly, because we don't have a juvenile traffic court anymore, so some of the minor offenses that juveniles were cited for are gone, and we are also going to lose one of the juvenile criminal courts. So we're already working on a project. Brenda's been working with me, as well as Jim Cobalt, working very closely with Matt Anderson, the principal at Antelope Valley High School, and Dr. Vieira from the high school district, the superintendent, developing a truancy model program that we're going to do an administrative process and divert those cases to our community youth court, with like a Saturday school ADA recovery for the district, so it benefits the district, recovering funds that they lost by that student not attending school, and then a restorative justice model through us to the community. And then we're going to involve the parents. So it has a whole parental responsibility aspect of it. The idea being the district's committing staff to maintain a place at the school for the deputies just to pick these kids up and drop them off, so they're not saddled with them 5 or 6 hours, where it's impacting other resources that we have out there, but we're getting these kids' attention. So those are some of the things we're working on. I think Commissioner Kiefer can talk about, or I can give her an attaboy for the things she's done at Antelope Valley High School, AV Partners for Health, and Antelope Valley High School, and some of the interaction they've had and some of the services they provide in the area. That's been a great community partnership. The principal, Matt, he's a great guy, and he's completely vested in the community. He's really a proactive person. Can't thank us enough for the involvement that we're having from the commissions and the city in helping them with issues that they're having at the school. They're turning that place around. And I think Lisa can tell you that. I mean, we see that because we're involved with them somewhat, and you can see a definite change over there. Okay, I think the thing for us is I can talk about some of the arrest stats, and so it just looks at the numbers, but for that whole reporting district with all arrests, juvenile citations, adult citations for like shoplifting thing, year to date we're up to about 1,158 total arrests that have been made in the area. So the Sheriff's Department's been pretty aggressive there. We also have had over 2,500 law enforcement contacts in that reporting district. So that means where deputies proactively worked in the area, whether that be some of our teams, whether that be narco, whether that be the patrol guys, where they've made contact with individuals in that reporting district from January 1st to date. That's significant. That's telling you that they're actively out there working the area and that's not based on calls for service, that's based on self-initiated proactive activity.
And do we have comparative figures for those as well?
I could do that. I could certainly bring that to you again. It's something I talked with Patty about today. There's some other things I'd like to bring to you at the next meeting, just so you can see some of the rehabilitation that's gone on, self-initiated by the property owners in the area. Some of the apartments that line Lancaster Boulevard, especially, that were looking pretty bad. Some of the duplexes, fourplexes we had there. There's been some significant change there. So I definitely want to bring that back to you at a future date. And I can collect any data that, Mr. Chairman, or any of the commissioners that you would like, and if you think of it at another point or information you'd like me to bring forward from the public safety standpoint or law enforcement, parole, probation, any of those things, just send an email to me and I'll provide that information for you.
I think from my standpoint, I just want to see, you know, we spend a lot of effort, you know, in this circumstance, you know, we use a lot of city resources to kind of infiltrate this El Dorado neighborhood. Did it work? And I mean, that's the question that I always have, at least. And I think from your statistics, at least, it seems that way. I mean, I know, you know, when I drive to Gino's for lunch, I mean, you know, you take a look at that drive from here to there, you know, then 3-4 years ago compared to now, it's not even comparable. So, you know, I know a lot of that has to do with the city. Pride of ownership is really picking up, I think. You know, I think it's an overall change. So, you know, I'm excited to see that in El Dorado, and I'm also excited to see where the next neighborhood is going to be.
Well, that's probably something that we'll be bringing some information as we put it out there. And you know, statistics don't always tell you the story. I mean, you know, the reality is when you step out of a place, it's better than when you started. Okay, and did we get the results from it? And so that's where we really need to evaluate ourselves now. And I'll do more of that at the end of the year when we see where we are overall, and especially this last quarter, because we've had some significant change overall in the city. I think the thing is, as we get into this community-based model, it's about making the people that live in the community take ownership of it. Right. You know, and that's the biggest philosophy. That's a hard transition for deputies to make too, because you know, you're going to be a hard charger, and you know, they base a lot of your success in law enforcement on the kind of quality cases you put together and how they're presented in court, and what your adjudication success and all these things. But the reality of it is what we do now is we work more in a beat system with the deputies. We want to get them to know the people that live in the neighborhood. That way they know who belongs there, who doesn't belong there. They have that interaction and those relationships with the people in the community, so they feel that the law enforcement folks are a part of their community as well, which we are here. We have a very unusual situation in the Antelope Valley. Most of the deputies that work here live here and have lived here, are locals and been here for a long time.
Are you hearing from the folks in the neighborhood? Are you getting good feedback? I mean, are you hearing anything at all?
Well, I have to tell you, the core guys have really stepped up their relationships with folks out there, as active as the top teams and everything. When I first started here at the city in August of 2009, where I would get daily complaints about a lack of a response and things, those are things that effectively have been managed over time. Yeah. I think now their relationship exists with the teams out there, especially with our neighborhood watch groups, where they have direct contact with them, that I rarely hear anything negative now as it relates to that. And I think that's what we got mostly out of that town hall meeting, is that there was a certain amount of frustration for folks that when they were calling for help or calling for something to be done, it wasn't being managed appropriately. So we addressed that. Okay. And that's something we've tried to focus on as a collective group, with cooperation with the sheriff, probation, parole, all of us that are tasked with that responsibility to make the appropriate response. Yeah. Okay. And listen, you can't help everybody. I mean, there's some things you just can't do, but you need to give them the courtesy of having the contact, the conversation, and say, that's not really an issue that we would do, or at least steer them to someone that can send them to the resources that are out there to help them with those situations. And that's a training issue. Sure. And that's something we've really been concentrating on.
When does the youth court meet?
We actually, Anne Marie's not here, but they're Tuesdays.
Tuesdays?
Wednesdays, I'm sorry. Wednesdays in the afternoon, but I'll send you a calendar for that. Okay. And then what it is, it's going to go up a lot. I've taken one of our staff and totally just dedicate them to work with Jim on that, because again, when we implement this model, we're going to be diverting those cases here. The beauty of it is when these kids do fulfill their commitment in that, they work within that, they don't have something that follows them the rest of their lives. Okay, so they don't catch a case that goes on their record that, listen, I don't care what people think. Kids think they turn 18, this is all over. I can do anything I want. I'm 18. My records are confidential. Well, they're not confidential to government entities or certain private entities, depending on what your security clearances are. You can't even, if you have a problematic youth and you want to go in the Marine Corps, they're not going to take you. Okay, so we got to establish those things up front. You guys, this is not a direction you want to go. Some of the processes we're working with, there's resources in certain agencies that they don't have the manpower. Probation, for example, has the ability through the Welfare and Institution Code to work collectively with the community and the schools to identify at-risk youth. So we're in that more delinquency mode, not criminality, but we want to get them in this mode. There's resources for that, but they don't have the people to do it. So that's some things we're looking at. How do we step in and create that gap filler?
On your reporting districts, this district was 1158. How many districts are there? Are 1,100 districts or?
No, no. The 11 stands for the station designation, okay? So Station 11 is Lancaster Station. Palmdale Station, Station 26. So the first two numbers are the station designation. Then the next one is reporting districts. But it's not consistent, like you would think, Howard, from 1 to 58. It's just how they were laid out for years. And as the city grew, they created reporting districts based on that, but they aren't sequential. So actually, I think we have about 32 different districts that we track here in our city. But you got to remember, our city, we have some vacant land all over the place that's still technically within the city limits and within its own reporting district. So if you looked at them statistically, we're concentrated on our population density areas as we apply these type of analytical issues, but
Now, are all those districts accessible through the website for the city, or you have to go through? Okay.
Yep. You can go through our crime mapping program. So especially for you with your management company, that's a good thing to look at. As you're trying to attract folks and new business into those properties, you can look up right there and tell them, here's what we got going on. This is what's occurred in the last week. This is what's occurred in the last month. This is what's been overall for a year. But the big thing I always like to take people to, you got to look at that baseline, because that really tells us where we were at for a period of time. Going back 10 years, that tells you a lot of things. So that puts us in that predictive mode. Also, what's also available on there, and Commissioner Concepcion Harris can tell you, is for the crime commissioners, we have, and you have access to as well, that shows our trend mapping throughout the city. So it'll show you all throughout the city where our crimes are occurring, and it's a colored map based on if things have gone up in the last month or down. So from green to red to yellow, it'll tell you that and where that transition is. It's interesting when you look at that over time, because you can almost tie some of it into like our larger multifamily complexes. And if you look at like a corridor of activity, and then what we're dealing with calls for service, it is telling. It's interesting. And I actually figured out how to do it, and I'm a computer moron. This was a challenge.
Do we have an impact home in that
Yes.
neighborhood?
Yes.
We do have one. Okay.
Yes. We
Yes,
don't
we
have a
know.
wellness home yet, though,
No,
do
but we do have the impact
So,
home, right?
We yes.
Okay, we do have, and which,
I want to say that the two churches have banded together
Right.
to go into
Yeah.
that neighborhood.
they're also the folks that are adjacent to your office right here. That's the church.
Yeah, it's the, yeah.
Yes, deliverance, total deliverance.
Total
and
deliverance? Okay.
Yeah, that's the
We
folks that
also
have the impact home
painted
there.
El Dorado Elementary School, the entire neighborhood impact painted the
Right.
entire school.
In October.
Yes.
That was October, right? Yeah.
Well, the other thing, look, too, the city made a significant investment even in the park over there. We have some great park improvements and a whole complete new playground area that was very expensive. They got a very successful daycare program that works out of there. It's quite active in the area, too. So, I mean, there's some good things going on over there. And you can see that people are using the park. That's always an indicator. You have people out there using the city-provided facilities on weekends and in the evenings and things. And you could, throughout the summer, we could see a significant change in the neighborhoods.
Good.
Any other questions for Mr. Dorico? Lee, thanks, as always, thanks for the information.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Very informative. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that concludes our presentations for the day. Brenda, do we have any updates from you?
Yes. Immediately following this meeting, out on the boulevard at Ehrlich, is the Hoffman Hospice Light Up a Life tree lighting ceremony. So please come out and join. and stay warm. And then this weekend on Saturday is the Magical Boulevard Christmas from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. So come out and join on that too. I'm sorry, till 9 p.m. And should be another nice event.
Brenda, are there streets, what's going to be closed off for that?
For Magical Christmas?
Right, yeah.
Do you?
No?
At Gadsden to Beach.
Okay. Thank you.
And then you should have license plates up there, license plate holders up there. The mayor would like you to put those on your cars to support Shop Lancaster, Shop More in Lancaster. And the city has kicked off that program. And on the website...
Does the mayor have this on his car?
I'm sure he will. He has one too. On the website, if you go to the website, it has a link to all of the shops in Lancaster. So please spread the word. The more that people shop in Lancaster, the more tax dollars are here to support all the programs. So,
Absolutely.
yes. And then Patty has an update for you as well.
I do. Actually, I wanted to encourage everybody to attend next week's City Council meeting. As you all recall, last month, all of you approved an ordinance for how we will deal with our vicious dog and vicious and threatening dogs in rental properties. And so we are introducing it to our council next week. And so, it's a good opportunity for all of us to, or for all of you to talk about, how you came up with the ordinance, and also to talk about, some of the feedback that you got at the public forum that you held a couple months ago. So I'd like to encourage you guys to be there. It's next Tuesday, December 11th at 5 o'clock.
I will definitely be there. I'm planning on presenting on behalf of the commission. I invite any commissioners that may want to come share what their side of what we saw when the citizens came up and all said their piece, and really how we then crafted the ordinance. I'll take my spin on it, but certainly, I'm not the only voice on the commission. So by all means, if you're available on Tuesday, I'll invite you as well. So please come. I'm sure the city, there may be some people that don't agree with it. So I think it's important to express to the council why it is that we decided to go this route. So. Anything else from staff? Do we have any speaker cards for anything else? Any general commissioner comments today? No? Well, happy holidays, and we'll see you back February 5th. And the meeting is adjourned. It is 4:40.